begin with Sam Kerr's grilling this morning during her racially aggravated harassment case. The Matilda star accused by the prosecution of throwing her weight around.
Let's go live to 9 Europe correspondent Edward Godfrey in London. Edward, the court heard from both Kerr and her fiancé.
Yeah, it has, Carl and Sarah. Sam Kerr has faced lengthy questioning by the prosecution today, and at times it has been emotional. The Matildas and Chelsea star once again here at the Crown Court for day 4 now of this trial, joined by her partner and fellow footballer Christy Mewis. During questioning, it was put to Miss Kerr that she was throwing her weight around when she told police that night she would get the Chelsea lawyers involved. Miss Kerr was asked who she believes had the power and the privilege. Miss Kerr responding with, "In my opinion, the police." The court has released more body cam video from the night too.
I'm paying for some dodgy window. He deserves it. No, I'm not paying for it. I'll sit here till 4 a.m. in the morning and get the Chelsea lawyers on these stupid.
No, we'll call them then.
Yes, I'm not taking the brunt of this.
Miss Kerr is charged with racially harassing a policeman that night back in January 2023. Earlier, she and her partner felt they were being kidnapped by a taxi driver who refused to let them out when Miss Kerr became sick, Miss Mewis kicking a window out. Miss Kerr denied using his whiteness as an insult, telling the court she believed they were using their power and privilege and didn't understand the fear they felt inside the taxi. Her partner, Christy Mewis, also giving evidence today and breaking down in the stand when asked what sort of person Miss Kerr is, saying, "I wouldn't want anybody else to be the mother of my child." Now, this trial is running longer than scheduled. It was set down for 4 days. Today was day 4. It is likely, Carl and Sarah, that the jury will break tomorrow, but that might not happen until next week.
All right, Edward, thank you.
Next up this Friday, a dramatic arrest has unfolded on the Gold Coast. Police tasering and tackling a man after a physical altercation. Live to Andrea Crothers in Brisbane. Andrea, what more do we know?
Well, Jane, police were responding to reports of a brawl between two groups of people on Cavill Avenue in Surfers Paradise just before 8:40 last night. Police then allege they tried to speak to a man at the centre of this fight, only to have him flee on foot. Hot-footing it to the Nerang River, swimming across it. Officers then managed to catch up with him after patrolling, finding him outside a unit complex. This is the dramatic moment that arrest unfolds.
You got him? Yes, stop. On your back.
That 30-year-old man has since been charged with obstructing police as well as public nuisance. He has been refused bail and is due to appear in the Southport Magistrates Court today. Jane.
Andrea, thank you. Police have made an arrest after a man was set alight in Melbourne South. Authorities found him at a St Kilda property before managing to get him out and onto a footpath just after 8:30 on Wednesday night. Sadly, though, he died at the scene, with investigators now interviewing a 30-year-old man. 2 babies and a young woman have been rushed to hospital after a car hit a tree and rolled in Greater Western Sydney. The station wagon crashing around 1 a.m. along Goldsmith Avenue at Campbelltown. Emergency services finding the woman trapped inside the car. Both of those children are believed to be under the age of 2. 2 men have been charged after a flag with a swastika symbol was displayed in Sydney. Police were called to Darlinghurst yesterday afternoon, later finding and arresting a 51 and a 44-year-old. Both were charged with displaying a Nazi symbol and will face court later today. A jury has found a father guilty of a road rage attack in Perth outside a Duncraig bottle shop. Clinton McKenna was caught on camera reversing his car into a stranger, but he claimed it was an accident. His victim suffering serious head and back injuries.
For me, I just wanted his work colleagues and friends to know what he had done.
The 52-year-old will be sentenced next month. A gunman remains at large after a house was sprayed with bullets in Adelaide, the assault just missing the residents inside. Police had also been called to the Glen Osmond home just 5 months ago over a siege involving the 47-year-old resident, who was then charged with multiple offences, including threatening to kill. People with violent pasts could be banned from dating apps and nightclubs under changes proposed by Queensland's police union. If successful, the state's worst high-risk domestic violence offenders would have tight restrictions on where they go and who they communicate with. It would apply to people with 2 or more orders against them within a 5-year period. The Prime Minister is set to announce millions of dollars for remote communities in the Northern Territory in a bid to reduce crime and improve safety. Live to Federal Politics reporter Liz Daniels in Canberra. Liz, just how much is he committing?
Well, Jane, it's quite a bit. The Prime Minister this morning waking up in the red centre ahead of that major funding announcement today. Anthony Albanese to tip $840 million into community safety as that youth crime crisis continues to grip Alice Springs. A deal between the Commonwealth, the Northern Territory Government and the Aboriginal peak organisations will see a boost to services over the next 6 years with a focus, as we said, on policing and women's safety issues. But there's also some money there for health and education as well, shoring up more than 500 local jobs. Opposition leader Peter Dutton was last week in Alice Springs, and at the time he criticised the Prime Minister for not having spent a night there to properly understand the issues. The Coalition has its sights on both Northern Territory lower house seats at this election, and some new polling today shows that Labor could be spread thin during this campaign, a month out from Western Australia's state election. When asked if the PM deserves a second term, 50%, half of voters there, have told News Poll it's time to give someone else a go. But that's not hurting Labor locally, though. The Cook government, with a whopping 56 to 44% two-party preferred lead in that vote. Jane, we could see a very busy Prime Minister crisscrossing the country over the course of this campaign.
We sure could, Liz. Thank you. A team from the NBA is set to play in Australia for the first time in another sporting coup for Melbourne. Live to Today Melbourne reporter Christina Hearn at Rod Laver Arena. Chris, this would draw a huge crowd.
Oh, Jane, it's set to draw a big number of tourists here to Melbourne and, of course, pack out the Rod Laver Arena where these exhibition matches are set to be played. So, according to News Corp, the NBA is on the brink of inking a deal to bring at least one NBA team out here to Australia, to Melbourne, to play a number of matches against NBL teams. This would, of course, see some of America's biggest basketball stars play right here in Melbourne. And while the NBA side hasn't been finalised, it'd be an added bonus if it was a side that did have an Aussie playing in it, like Josh Giddey for the Chicago Bulls. This news comes just a day after it was officially announced that the NFL is going to play a home and away season in Australia for the first time. That match to be played at the MCG next year. All this sporting coup here in Melbourne has got New South Wales feeling a little down. The New South Wales Tourism Association has described it as an epic fail and a missed opportunity. Jane.
OK, Chris, thank you.